This guy's talking about Andor in an earlier interview. Said something like it's the best Star Wars that nobody watches, and it's the meme of is it really? Is it really the best if nobody's watching it? So Marvel movies gave up on the hero's journey for the MacGuffin quest to find the Tesseract because good stories have a core of truth. Eventually, propaganda gets old. Its propaganda has to be subtle. I was thinking like the mainstream media is an example of slowly boiling the frog with good, gentle propaganda telling people what they want to hear. So I saw this article, and I was only getting half of the story, which is common in mainstream media for years. It's been this weird where they talk about issues like articles about public transportation or something, and they go, oh, there's an issue with crime and subways and trains and whatnot, and we really want to get people to use public transportation, but people can't use it because of violence. They go, oh, Europe's got all these train lines, and like besides the geographical distances, there are other demographic issues as to why America doesn't have that kind of public transportation because people want to make it to their destination. And then the articles kind of stop there. The people just kind of get used to reading these pointless, politically correct articles. And it's the thing is now people have started to self-censor their own internal thoughts, so they don't even think about things that would be wrong think. Instead of continuing to ask questions and pull on the threads that are presented. And obviously on YouTube, I can't go farther than that, which is why Google bought it. And they did their own little version of slowly boiling the frog. If you look at people who used to be on YouTube and you look around like, oh, they're all gone now. So Google has it. They bought it so they could control the narrative. So there's a detrimental reliance concept with getting paid from the mainstream platforms where people can make money as long as they don't travel where here there be dragons. And the funny thing about classic storytelling is it is nationalist. You're fighting and sacrificing for your family, the tribe, the race, not for the other group of people. Otherwise, why would you be fighting in the first place? To sacrifice for other people? That's not a human motivation. You want to make your babies and spread them out. It's the meme of the guys getting off the boats to see what happened to their homelands 80 years later. They would have turned around, fragged the officers, and gone home because they fought for globalists. And the proof is, well, the globalists gave their homelands away. The fight was just to remove their best men. It's an awakening out of the Matrix to see it. They fought for a group of people. They fought a group of people that looked like them, only to give their lands away to people who didn't look like them. And when you say it, it's like it's absolute insanity. And now you'd need a part 3 to those conflicts to get rid of this situation, which probably is on its way. So anyway, classic storytelling isn't politically correct in current Hollywood. There can be no blonde male hero who goes on the quest to kill orcs and elves or whatever and learn and grow and get the goblins, not elves. I guess elves are the good guys. Though in Terry Pratchett's universe, I think they're the bad guys. And get the girl and make the next generation. So you end up with things like a 007 who isn't English, Scottish, Irish, or Welsh, or even European at all. They wanted to make him Isra. Who's that black guy? They wanted to make him some black guy. And it's like, yeah, that's not going to sell. Having a black female sidekick on a moped was hard enough sell. So the viewer is not emotionally invested in the story because they're telling you if you have that kind of diversity, they're saying, oh, well, the globalists already won. If there's no English people in London, then you lost the war that you didn't even know you were fighting. If James Bond has an Indian and an African team up, well, then who cares? We're not invested in foreigners. Though if they did make that movie, I guarantee you the bad guy is going to be ethnically English. So people are tribal, and the stories Hollywood are pushing are Bolshevik found family nonsense, where a diverse, plucky group goes up against somebody, but it doesn't have verisimilitude, because the viewer knows that a diverse group is weak. It's at best metastable. It's artificially balanced. As soon as the God writer looks away, it collapses because, unfortunately, people are different. Hollywood is telling race is all just a social construct. Well, then why do you need to replace people? It's like, couldn't they just be whatever they are in their homelands? I hadn't thought about that. So Hollywood is telling stories that are pure propaganda, where every narrative is diverse, and the audience turns out the audience hates diversity. I mean, I personally do, and I'm sure if you're listening to this, you do too. No, it just has to be done right. Yeah, doing it right is just not doing it at all. We've had enough. And logically, it doesn't make sense because diversity is only maintained if people don't mix. Otherwise, you've destroyed the diversity of each group. That's kind of like in the definition of the word. And the Rings of Power by Amazon, they have all these different races living together, but they're clearly visually different. They're different ethnicities because the actors playing the characters. So they're in the Hobbit or the Elf tribe, but they don't mix together. They're just together without actually intermating. So, that doesn't make sense. You have dark hobbits and elves would live with their own kind because if they lived together, eventually there'd be no fair-skinned ones left. They'd all just mix to become brown. The unique and beautiful ones would have been genocided by the dark ones. They claim to value diversity, except that would destroy diversity. That's what gaslighting is, where they repeatedly lie to your face. Compare the storytelling concepts in the original Lord of the Rings to Rings of Power, or the same thing happened for Lilo and Stitch, the animation versus the live action, where they valued family, except when they did the live action film, they valued family so much that they broke up the family so the girl could go to California for some reason and get a useless degree, probably get gangbanged and whatever it is they do in college. And the thing is, it kills the story because the focus was on family, and the audience is mostly too stupid to care. It's just moving images on screen while they eat popcorn. They're not thinking about the earlier film. The Quartering showed a clip from the 2008 Rambo where he's smuggling in doctors into Burma, and the brown people want to snuggle the blonde female doctor, so Rambo pulls the 115 grain problem solver and without hesitation deletes the browns, which works really well in the stories because that's fairly close to reality. But would you see a story like that in Hollywood today? That kind of story is going to be rare. Admittedly, Stalin is the brown person himself, being part Italian, but modern Hollywood would have all the doctors be colored of colors, and the Burmese attackers would be blonde South African racist farmers smuggling diamonds, or blonde Germans, or blonde Russians, or blonde motorcycle gangs in Idaho. People accept that level of stupidity on the surface, but then subconsciously the movie just doesn't stick with them. And the funny thing is, I did notice one weird, rare exception, and it came from an Amy Schumer movie where she has to rescue her mom from some Latin American kidnappers, and she's in the local village, and the men explain to her that because she sees the women working in the field, and she sees the men sitting, smoking and drinking beer, and they explain that, well, that's the important job. They have to drink beer and guard the women while they work in the fields. And I could promise you that when she put that scene in the movie, the other writers and producers got uncomfortable with it because it was a weird departure from blonde German man bad. And credit to her for putting it in there because it makes you ask, well, why don't they have more honest scenes like that? Because you would have expected her, the narrative would have been some peaceful, idyllic village life. And, everything is just this idealized version of just a bunch of nonsense. It's like in the book Roots, which was, the guy was lost to judgment for plagiarism because the story came from an earlier book called, like a 1916, I think it was called The African or something. But in the book, this guy's telling the story of these African villages before the evil blonde devil comes in the villages and steals people away. It's like, yeah, that didn't happen. The Europeans went to Africa and they would just be, it'd be dinner. It was other Africans, obviously, the Dahomey tribe type of stuff. But in the book, he's describing this African village, and everyone's getting along so well, and there's just feasts left and right. It's bizarre, like Afrocentric, insanity, just absolute insanity. We're like no village on earth where people got along that well, where there's a feast every other day kind of nonsense, and wise old elders, and you can read the first like 50 pages of Roots to get this. You realize this person is just pulling this out of thin air. Or how come you don't see movies about the Chinese and the Africans hunting animals in Africa to extinction, rhino horns and elephant tusks and whatnot, to support the Chinese traditional medicine industry? Because in that case, there's no blonde Germans to be the fall guy. It's just black and Chinese, where it's also tiresome. So for the modern Marvel, it's a Bolshevik found family going after the MacGuffin, which is okay for a while, but runs out of steam. They can't tell a traditional story about the blonde male character growing and learning and fighting the evil non-blondes and then rescuing his hot blonde future wife and making more beautiful white babies, because none of that is politically correct to the globalists. They obviously want those people gone. They have a real prejudice against the blondes. And we haven't seen an organic story in so long that you've come to expect everything being mostly black and gay. Non-white characters don't have hero arcs. They have to be Mary Sue's from the starts. You end up with the Shuri character, who's so smart that she's even smarter than the European men, the Hulk and the Iron Man, and the Fantastic Four guy are like the smartest guys in the Marvel universe, I think, or the smartest good guys at least. They're the same guys who invented, well, everything and built civilization, but Shuri built Wakanda, so, whatever. And they're in the middle of a racist black ethno-state where there's no diversity at all. No Asians, no Europeans, no Arabs. And she has to treat some blonde character who's injured. And she says, oh, it's another white boy to treat, which doesn't make any sense because how many other white boys does she treat in her hospital? Where are they coming from? You live in a black ethno-state. If anything, she'd be treating black victims from her country or from wars in the surrounding countries. The line doesn't make sense, as the black guy is, the line doesn't make sense because the writers are, we'll say, idiots. It makes as much sense as the black guy talking about his ancestors who jumped overboard to drown before accepting slavery. And you pause there and you go, wait a minute. There's like a space-time causality loop here. If your ancestors never existed because they jumped overboard, except you're here telling the story, so that didn't happen. What happened was other Africans like the Dahomey tribe took your ancestors as slaves and sold them to the traders, who then sold them all over the world because slavery was totally accepted in Africa, as was taking sex slaves with American Indians, and genocide was also accepted with the American Indians. Those are just the rules of the game. Woke writers are idiots, but they think that their lines are like punk rock, dude. You won't take us slaves, we'd rather drown. Except they literally didn't jump overboard or even fight the other black slave traders to death. They gave up and accepted slavery. And honestly, if they had beat the slave race tribe like the Dahomey tribe, they would have just taken over the slave trade themselves. They wouldn't, we're going to free them all. It's like, yeah, it's not what, we're going to sell palm tree oil instead. Like, no, the French and the English had to go to war to force that. But that's not the narrative they want, so they just kind of write nonsense. And that movie, was it the Dahomey tribe movie came out? That was like peak BLM, just insanity. When it's like, hey, where'd that money go? What'd you do with the universities? Some kind of endowment? Some kind of physical structure? No. It mostly went up our nose and into some real estate deals. Like, oh, okay, that's but like nothing for the intent of the fundraising. Just like hundreds of millions of dollars, and a few people benefited by buying personal real estate and probably mounds of cocaine. Yeah, pretty much. Anyway, so Marvel doesn't have that core. Disney doesn't have that core of truth in it. It's all propaganda, and little kids are okay with propaganda for a while. Then they get a little older, and they go, "Oh, this is just kind of Elf Quest stories where it's." You get a couple issues in, and then it's just to tell you about there's a little black elf and a little white elf, and there's a 2-page spread. And they go, look, we're just the same. It's like the message. Like we're done with messaging from globalist idiots who live in the whitest neighborhoods possible in a gated community. It's like, I don't understand. I've got diversity. It's like, yeah, you live with like the diversity is a dentist, who makes $300,000 a year. That's not the kind of diversity everyone else is dealing with. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys. I don't know if did I say too much. Say too many hot words. The last video went up, got I mentioned the reptilians or something, and I got a little warning from Wikipedia. YouTube doesn't like. YouTube used to be, holy shit, man. 10 years ago, YouTube used to be YouTube. Now it's Google Tube, where they absolutely control the narrative. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next episode.